sensational hosts, Drucilla and Gilcy.
Hi.
Welcome to Moon Moment, the podcast where we discuss the Sailor Moon canon for what we affectionately call Moon Moments.
Moments that we feel exemplify what Sailor Moon stands for and represents. Now, without further ado, let's jump right in. Today we're discussing episodes 64 to 67, and the weather seems to have taken a turn for the worse. And with Chibiusa missing, it's up to Usagi and... Hold on, wait a minute, is that Mamoru is helping Usagi to find Chibiusa? But I thought he was done with Usagi. Could it be that there are other reasons for the breakup? We don't get a lover's reunion, but we do find Chibiusa. Next, the girls are feeling sentimental, reminiscing about their past loves when, lo and behold, a gem shop that promises to fulfill romantic wishes pop up. Could this be the answer to bringing Mamaroo, Alan, and Mako's doomed first love back? Of course not, but it seems the girls aren't the only ones wishing for the return of a lost flame, since the Spectre Sisters are, of course, behind the Too Good To Be True gem store. But since the gems didn't seem to work out, just like a certain past relationship apparently, the sisters try their hand at the local grocery store. Of course, now is the perfect time for Usagi, Mamaroo, and Chibiusa to take the grocery store trip for some curry ingredients. What could go wrong? Definitely not angering the produce. Finally, the gang is off to bother Ray at a private island where Chibiusa makes an unexpected giraffe friend. Maybe the Loch Ness Monster is real and is actually living in Japan? Question mark? Yeah, so these episodes were very much filler, at least for me. And especially that last one where, of course, there's a beach episode, and we love beach episodes. But I really didn't have any big moon moments. I had a mini moment.
I didn't really have anything either, and I'm beginning to suspect that Sailor Moon doesn't like beach episodes because this beach episode is bonkers, and the previous beach episode was bonkers too. So I'm beginning to think there's something there, and I'm now really excited to see if any more beach episodes pop up. Or their variant onsen episodes.
Ah, yes.
To see if this bonkersness continues.
Has there been a sick episode where one of them goes over to the others and kind of like nurses them back to health? Has there been an episode like that yet?
Well, Gilcy, in roughly 3 podcast episodes, yes, we'll get that. 2 or 3 podcast episodes, we'll get everyone is sick, except Minako. And Minako tries to help everyone, and it does not go well.
I love those sick episodes. They're so underrated. They're one of my favorites.
But yeah, these episodes, I totally agree with you. We don't like using filler as a pejorative word on this podcast, but they really are filler-ish. And in a way that, I mean, we must have come across some episodes that felt like this before, but maybe never so many that were back to back to back.
Yeah.
The first episode with the lightning storm and everything, I would say that is a plot-related episode because Chibiusa contacts someone mysterious that we haven't seen before and attempts to go back home and causes this issue. But the rest of them really do feel like,
they're fun. Like, they're fun, and I enjoyed them. Mm-hmm. But plot-wise, it didn't really add too much to it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we did get to see a silhouette of the parents,
which I do want to talk about once we get there. And these episodes may have been light on moon moments and mini moon moments for me, but I did come up with a couple of Chibiusa theories, and I want to talk about
theories.
The silhouettes of the parents. So let's get started.
Okay.
Our first episode, the somewhat plot-related, I'd say it's plot-related episode, which you said you had
a little mini moment. Yes. Okay, so the beginning, when Chibiusa is waiting with the two other students, and it's thunder, lightning, everyone's scared. I wanted to give a shout out to Chibiusa to comforting the other two students, and it's okay. I'm sure your parents will come, even though she herself is frightened of the thunder and lightning. And she was there to stand with them and sit with them until their parents came. And I thought this was really sweet. I didn't think it was like a full-on moon moment, but I did think that Chibiusa didn't have to do that. She didn't have to be comforting and try to quell her own fears. And especially since she is, of course, she's a child. She misses her parents, and seeing the children get picked up by their own parents like stirred something like deep within her that she missed her parents. And I don't know, I feel like because she was able to take into account other people's feelings besides her own, and she was able to comfort them despite her own fears and despite missing her parents, she was able to help those other two students. So, mini moon moment. What do you think?
I mean, I gotta be honest, this totally passed me by.
Oh.
I barely remember anything about that scene. I remember them being in the classroom together, but I don't remember anything that Chibiusa said, so I will defer to you in this moment. I think what is distracting me from that is the moment when... Okay, well, I have only two notes about this episode, which is crazy. But the thing that I kept getting stuck on in this episode that I hated was when Chibiusa is she's at the front of the building, she's outside, and the little boy is there too, and he's crying. She says, "What are you doing? Boys aren't supposed to cry." And he says, I think he just says, like, but... And then I think lightning crashes again, and he starts crying harder. And of course, this is very frustrating because, of course, boys can cry. There's nothing wrong with boys crying. And I recognize that this is a 90s show, and it's not out of the realm for a little kid to say that, because people still say it today. But it's just one of those things that gets annoying when you go back and listen to it. That being said, shout out to the Deke dub, because Chibiusa does say, or Rini, as she's known, she does say, "You're a boy, and boys aren't supposed to cry." And this time the boy says, "Well, who says?" So, shout out to the Deke dub for that. The Deke dub had a couple of really good, in these episodes, they had pretty good points that I'm going to highlight. But yeah, also, when the boy does get picked up, his dad's like, "You're going to be late for cram class." This little boy is 5 years old, right? He has cram school already? Goodness gracious.
That's what I was thinking too. Wait a minute, aren't you 4? What are you doing in cram school right now?
Yeah, it just blew my mind. And this episode, of course, we get some really spectacular moments with the gravity part. Obviously, there's the, I think, somewhat well-known part where Ray getting stuck under Minako's skirt. But we also get probably the most amazing thing that I've ever seen Tuxedo Common do. He goes to float gently down to the floor, and he lands on a can, and it rolls out from under him, and he starts flailing like a fish. It's truly the best thing Tuxedo Common has ever given us. But yeah, this episode, strange enough, even though it is sort of a plot-ish episode, because Rini talks to someone, we don't know who it is. I mean, I know who it is. Gilcy probably knows who it is. And then we see the actual time key, which I don't think we've seen since the first episode.
We haven't
Rini?
seen it. Yeah.
With Chibiusa. And it's not only the audience that sees it, the characters see it too. I kind of thought you would say you had a moon moment this episode. Well, not particularly you, but I wondered if this would come up. When Chibiusa fixes the gravity mistake, the scouts are trying to get her to talk to them. And then Tuxedo Common says, look, if she doesn't want to talk about it, then she doesn't have to talk about it. And she runs to him, and they leave together. And I was curious if it would come up, because I first thought, oh, this is a moon moment, because he's recognizing that Chibiusa doesn't want to talk about this, and he's stepping in for her. But then I realized, yes, I think in 99% other cases, yes, this would be a moon moment for this to happen. In this case, I think he's in the wrong. I think the scouts have the right idea. I think Mako grabbing her, even though it wasn't like a violent grab, I think that probably set a wrong tone. But for the most part, I think the scouts are right to try to get her to open up and to ask her. Especially if we think about this from Chibiusa's perspective, she knows the scouts in the future, and she trusts them. But then she doesn't know Sailor Moon, but she's always been told that Sailor Moon is a beautiful, strong guardian who always protects those who need it. And here is Sailor Moon asking her, we can help you, we can protect you, you just have to tell us what's going on. And I think she's very close to telling the scouts what's going on. I mean, I don't know. You could argue how close she is. But then Tuxedo Common steps in and is like, no, wait, stop. And I think that's wrong, because if someone doesn't want to open up, it's this really fine line between, if they don't want to talk about it, it's okay. But at some point, there are some things that people do need to talk about. And, and I'm not saying it's easy to know where that point is, but I think when it comes to little kids, the line is a bit clearer, because whether they're getting bullied at school or if it's something, more horrific going on, you go, obviously, I have no experience with children, but letting a kid know, you can always come to me, and if something is really weighing on you, you should tell someone, because it lifts the burden, and they can try and help you. Like, I think it's a bit different, because kids don't have the emotional maturity to handle stuff, whereas adults do. And so it may be okay for me to not push Gilcy on something that she doesn't want to talk about, but if I was talking to Kid Gilcy, I may push a little bit harder to figure out what's going on. So I was wondering if you would get caught in that moon moment trap, because I almost did.
That didn't make it into my notes, just because I didn't look at it as a moon moment at all. I actually thought Tuxedo Mask was being selfish, because we already know that, like, he's trying to hide something from Usagi and why he's been avoiding her. And I feel like he used this opportunity of, if Chibiusa is able to open up, the literal child is able to open up and talk about her feelings so openly with people, why wouldn't I be able to? And if she's not able to, if she doesn't tell it, then I don't have to tell why I've been hiding my feelings.
Oh my god, I love this. It makes him even more of a piece of garbage. I love your reading of it. This is now forever my reading of the scene. I love that he is selfishly, in the guise of being a good guy, is being totally selfish. I love it.
Like, maybe this is just my, I wouldn't say hatred, but not great light of Tuxedo
Your mama rage.
Yeah, my mama rage. Maybe this is my mama rage, but I viewed that whole thing as him being very selfish, because the girls were trying to help, and it looked like Chibiusa was about to open up to them until Mamaroo stepped in. And I completely agree with you that as much as we should treat children as they are their own person, they are their own being, and their opinions do matter, there are times when they just need a little more guidance, just like a little more of that push, because they don't have completely their own. I can't think of the word, but they aren't able to compartmentalize things as well. And especially when something like this, as heavy as trying to find this whole crystal in order to save your mom, that's a heavy burden on anyone. And having that on a child is hard. And I just think that if Mamoru had not stepped in, Chibiusa would have been able to help herself and not have it be so weighed heavily upon her, and the girls would help her. But I just did not see this as a moon moment at all, and I just thought he was being selfish. So, yeah.
That's great. I love that. So, I guess next episode, are we done with this episode already?
I will shout out to the Spectre Sisters because I just love them so much. Just in the beginning when they're comparing makeup and all this stuff. And one of them says, "With this ribbon, I'll make any man my slave." I was like, you are a riot. I would love to be friends with you. Hit me up, please. We can all go out in the town and seduce all the men into buying us drinks.
I'm so curious as to the, I guess, behind the scenes of this season, because you have the On and Ale arc. And that was a pure anime creation that they needed to do to give Takeuchi more time to complete the Black Moon arc, which is what we're about to go into. And then the Spectre Sisters get basically one chapter apiece in the manga, and then they die. And there's not much stretch room in the back half of this season. There's not much room to put filler in. But the Spectre Sisters, the one and done villain, yeah, give them more episodes apiece. And then in the show, which we'll see starting next podcast episode, they're redeemed. Spoiler alert. I mean, I assume that everyone watching this has seen Sailor Moon at least once. So I'm not as judicious with my spoiler warnings as I probably should. I wonder if they thought, okay, we'll just give them extra episodes to pad out the season. But then maybe as they were developing it, they really came to love these characters. They have this really interesting dynamic. Yeah, they're sort of catty to one another, and they're talking about makeup and beauty, very like hyper feminine stuff. I mean, they're fun. When they're in the field, if it's like two of them working together in the field, it's not a Zoisite and Nephrite relationship. They're not murderous toward one another. They actually, back to back, are fighting with each other to face off against the scouts. They're obviously have a bond despite all of the arguments and stuff that they have. But yeah, I wonder if the show just really liked these characters, and that's why we get this random redemption arc for them.
I think they're my favorite villains that we've had on the show so far. But yeah, we could go to the next episode where we talk about all of the girls, well, Mako, Minako, Usagi, and one of the Spectre Sisters also miss some past loves.
Yeah, this is one, I sort of had this down as a mini moment, but the more I thought about it, it really didn't qualify as it. So I just want to highlight that section when they're in the shop. I don't even really remember what sets it off. I think it's when Minako starts to apologize to Mako. And they're saying, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I just want you to have someone who respects you. And then that sets Pets off. And Calaveras is, oh, well, we need these girls for our plans. From that moment, the moment she says that line to when everyone transforms is amazing. Because Minako immediately picks up on, what do you mean by plans? Her battle senses are tingling. And Then there's all of them taking up defensive stances. Usagi gets in front of Chibiusa and picks her up and runs when Mina uses the fire extinguisher for cover. It's just so awesome to see the girls in Sailor Scout battle mode without actually being transformed. And I love that Minako picked up on that. It happens in both the Japanese version and the Deke version. They both have that, what are you talking about plans moment. Something that also both versions have that I really liked was earlier in the episode when Minako and Mako save Rini from the two little bullies. Mina says, well, if boys tease you, it means they like you. And Mako immediately shuts that down and says, no, they're just being buttheads. You're too romantic. I really liked that both versions called this out because they're right. Yeah, boys may tease you because they like you, but that's
doesn't excuse their bad behavior.
Exactly. You don't have to forgive anything a boy or man does just because he likes you. So I really liked this.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that, but I'm glad that you brought it up because I've always been so mad about the whole boys will be boys kind of thing. That is not boys will be boys. Boys will be boys are, I don't know, them jumping into a lake and seeing who could make the biggest splash. That's boys will be boys. Not boys will be a bully to people that they quote-unquote like and hope their abuse makes them like them better. Like, no, that's just being mean. Anyway.
Yeah. Also, the Deke version has some really great line deliveries where I can't remember who it says, and of course I didn't write it down because I'm a terrible note taker. You should see the kind of notes I take for D&D. It's terrible. But they're in that section where they're talking about, oh, what do you mean plans? And like all this stuff. It's either Minako but she says, I have a bad feeling about this. And then one of the Spectre Sisters holds out a gem very forcefully and says, touch this and all your wishes will come true. And she says, now I really have a bad feeling about this. And I just loved that, I don't know, those like, that small little section of dialogue. I just loved it so much because it just reminded me of the fact that these girls live in a Tokyo that has had not only the Black Moon coming in and taking over random shops, but it's like, look, we already have the Dark Kingdom doing this. Anytime a sale looks too good to be true or a store promises things that seem unguaranteeable, it's probably a dark plot of some kind.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't stop them from trying to infiltrate every single whatever kind of store in Tokyo. Yeah. I mean, the next episode, they're taking over a grocery store. Yeah. So...
Which is a great segue into the next episode. However, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit and just say, did you notice this episode is a Jupiter and Venus power-up episode? They get new attacks this episode. The gym episode is the first time we see the Venus Love Me chain and sparkling wide pressure. Which, again, it was just... Some of the scouts get so shortchanged.
If you hadn't said anything, it would have completely gone over my head.
Yeah, because it's not addressed in any way. It's just, we have these new powers. There's no, at least in Ray's episode, she was fighting against Cohen, and her fire wasn't strong enough. She powers up because she needs to be able to kick butt. It was more of a set piece in a way, whereas here, no attention is drawn to it. It's just there. Yeah. I just wanted to call that out because we can move on.
Go Venus and Jupiter.
Yeah, go Venus and Jupiter. So the supermarket episode, the Hirikuri episode.
I did not have any mood moments for this, but I just thought it was one... I don't know if anyone has seen the meme of them being in a Trader Joe's, or maybe I just made that up, but it 100% gave me, oh, have a sample at Trader Joe's or Costco. But yeah, other than that, they did have a flash to Chibiusa's parents in this episode. And the whole, oh, why do I have this warm, fuzzy feeling when all three of us are together and holding hands? I was like, I know, but come on, Chibiusa, come on. Put two and two together.
And see, that's the thing. Okay, so these are two separate issues. The ever question of, what does Chibiusa actually know? She knows that her mom is Neo Queen Serenity. She knows her dad is King Endymion. She knows that the scouts, who she's very friendly with, are the protectors of Crystal Tokyo. Going back in time, the reason she... what does she know? Because she lands immediately with Mamoru and Usagi. And she is convinced that Usagi has the silver crystal. Why? Because she obviously doesn't know that Usagi and Mamoru are her parents. Why does she think Usagi has the crystal? Why doesn't she realize that the other scouts, she has to know who they are?
Right?
And it just, it's so confusing about what she knows and what she doesn't know. And, there's a moment where, I'm sure it's an upcoming episode, where she is literally shocked to see Usagi transform into Sailor Moon. And I don't know how to parse this in my brain. Maybe this rewatch will provide more information. The manga is obviously roughly 13 chapters long for this entire arc, so once again, things move super quickly. And she knows who the scouts are. She sees them transform, but I get the sense that she knows beforehand. But I haven't made it far into the arc on my reread yet, so I can't be 100% sure about what she knows and what she doesn't know. But yeah, it just, there's that issue, and then the issue of, so we've seen at least one flashback before. Maybe two, but I definitely remember one, and it was, she remembers walking with her parents, and she has an umbrella, and they're sharing one. And because it's one of those things where it's kind of hard to have a main character who has an incredibly distinctive hairstyle and then have to silhouette her. I mean, we had the same conversation about the Moon Princess. It's like,
right.
How many girls do you know that have buns and pigtails it's been so powerful, it's carried over to their
exactly
reincarnated life. Okay, I was not crazy. Look at this woman's hair. It is hair down mid-back.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing this photo and thinking, what? Like, who is this woman? Who is Mamaroo with? It's not his wife. But in this episode, when we get those flashbacks, you have to be looking carefully, but you can see pigtails. And it was something super annoying, and I'll do screenshots in the show notes, everyone. Or if you're watching the YouTube video, hello YouTube. I'll put visuals there as well. But when the flashbacks in this episode, you can pretty clearly see that it is Mamoru and Usagi.
Yeah.
And that is something that I get really annoyed by when I have to rely on this silhouette, is to completely change the silhouette so you don't know who it is. I know they want to keep suspense going, but look, if you're going to choose to go the silhouette route, you can't blame your viewers, watchers, for being able to guess who the surprise character is or whatever. I don't know if that was just a mistake of just like, oh, she's going to be having a flashback of her parents. And I don't know if at the time they knew that Mamoru and Usagi were her parents. Honestly, I don't remember how I got on this. You were talking about flashbacks.
Yeah.
So I guess, that one flashback is kind of weird. But here, the flashback we get with her holding hands with Mamoru and Usagi, you can't really deny that it's them.
Yeah. Even if you look at it, I mean, she's very short, and I'm guessing everything looks different when you're a child. But even then, it's pretty apparent that those are buns, and it's such a distinct hairstyle.
Tuxedo Common was actually useful in this episode. Go figure.
For once.
He actually fights the... What's the monster's name? Avocado?
Avocadora? Something like that.
Avocadora. He actually fights the monster while the girls corner the sisters and try to get information out of them. Wow. Actually useful. This episode also... It gave me a question that I thought about in the gym episode. In the gym episode, we see two girls in the shop already, and they make a wish, and they're like, oh, I hope he likes me. And of course, the wishes turn out to be the opposite, and oh, well, I hate this guy, and I hate my boss, and, stuff like that. I hope I never get that promotion, the opposite. Well, I thought about this, and I thought about the ice cream shop episode, because that one, we specifically see a couple eating ice cream, and then, oh, stop being so clingy. Like, why do I even go out with you? And, they break up, it seems like. My question was, when the scouts defeat the monster, they're really just defeating the monster. Mm-hmm. So these people go back to being the way they were? Because they don't cleanse the people. And with some of the Dark Kingdom general plots, they were just stealing energy. They weren't changing the way people acted. Mm-hmm. So my question is, are all these people super negative now? Do they never change? However, this supermarket episode actually answered me, I think, because we see everything on the shelves go rotten. But at the end of the episode, once they defeat the monster, everything goes back to the way it was. So I posed a question, and it was immediately answered in the next episode. But I think it would be very scary if that didn't happen. If there are just people wandering around Tokyo that are now filled with black moon energy or whatever, and just being super negative and may, become murderers or something. It's such a... Gosh, I can't remember if there's a word for it, but the scouts win. They stop this particular plot and they defeat the monster, but there are so many people who are still affected by this that they can't, or they don't know how to cleanse. Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. One of those dystopian AU Sailor Moon fanfics.
Can you imagine just like a whole horde of whatever shop they were in, and everyone's just angry and zombified, and everyone's just like, oh, they probably just had a really bad experience. Let's check their Yelp review, maybe they're onto something. And everyone's just, oh yeah, no, it's fine. It's just the place that they went to. Mm-hmm. I'm sure everyone's fine.
Yeah. Could you imagine Usagi's dad getting into a car accident because someone ran a stop sign or something, and it turns out that I'm the most important, no one else, they've been infected by doom energy, I guess, and they just have no regard for anyone or anything else, and that's why he, runs that stop sign and hits Usagi's dad.
Oh, gosh.
What a ripple effect. Mm-hmm. I don't know, that's almost too... It's almost too big of an idea to really wrap your head around. But it would be interesting in terms of the bad guys getting more threatening.
Yeah.
Because with An and Ale and the Dark Kingdom, they really just wanted energy.
Yeah.
But now we're starting to see people getting infected. And so it really, like, ratchets up the difficulty level. So.
Yeah. I feel like it would add a lot more to the plot as well. Oh no, we need to get these power-ups more quickly so that we're able to defend Tokyo better, so that less people will be affected by this. And then, can you imagine? It'd be another zombie apocalypse, kind of, except not zombies, but very angry people.
Negative Karens all over the place.
Tuxedo Mask does have, like, this really funny line. I noted it, but I didn't write the whole thing. It's something along the lines of, "You've gone and angered the produce," and I was
well, what's funny is that doesn't he say the exact same thing Sailor Moon says for his speech?
Yeah, he does.
And I love that. I think Sailor Mars comments on it. I don't remember what she says, but I think she makes some sort of comment. And something that, it's such a small, it's one line, but I thought it was really interesting that they included it was when Mamoru and Chibiusa run into Rei. And Chibiusa says, "Rei, I really want you to come. Like, both you, you can make curry. I want you to come." Mamoru says, he sees that Rei is hesitating, and so he says, "I cannot go if that makes it better, if it makes it less awkward." And this is such an amazing thing, because it could really refer to two things. One, he could recognize that it's a little awkward because they used to date.
Right.
But I don't think it's that. I think he realizes, man, I recognize that this is hella awkward if you come along and, like, not Usagi. I recognize the girl code, so I'm okay, like, I can bow out so that you can help Rini, Chibiusa. So, but I thought it was just like a little line that didn't really need to be in there, and it gave half a brownie point to Mamoru. Just a half.
Mamaroo has dug himself into a hole so deep where just like, nah, man, you need more to actually redeem yourself in our eyes.
What were we saying? The bar is so low. You need
buried.
So much just to hit the bar. So, yeah. With all of this crapping on Mamoru, it makes me kind of excited for us to get to stars if we make it that far. Because in the past, I was never a Seiya and Usagi shipper. I was always, Mamoru and Usagi forever. But now watching this, I'm really fascinated to watch Seiya and Usagi's interactions.
Yeah, my unshakable Mamoru Usagi ship is now in smithereens. So yeah,
there are multiple holes in it. It's the Titanic. They said it would never sink, but the iceberg that is Mamoru just
keeps going.
Keeps punching holes in it.
Yeah, this episode, it was fun. I didn't have any moon moments.
Yeah, no moon moments.
This next episode, though, is very, very, very filler-y.
It is. I have in my notes, what the F is this episode? Really? I mean, this is one that the Deke Dub, there is no Deke Dub version for it.
Oh, there isn't?
Like the previous beach episode, they just never dubbed it. Because it really doesn't have anything to do with the plot. And if anything, it is, like I said, even crazier than the other beach episode. And I just, like, so many things about this episode don't make sense. I'm not even talking about the living dinosaur. Just, why is Rei going to train on an island with an active volcano?
Right.
Is there no one else on this island besides her? Do the girls lose all of their clothes when the volcano erupts? All of their bags and everything?
How did the girls even end up on this island if it's so remote? How did they get a ride there? Who did they hitch a ride on with? How did this episode even happen?
Yeah, that's a great... that should be the title of this podcast episode. some filler episodes. Also, how did this episode even happen? So I will say, this episode, confirms, quote unquote confirms a fan theory that I have, that I've mentioned on the podcast. Because we were talking about how in the Lost Love Minako episode, Usagi is told to turn into a sailor so she can drive a boat. And we were wondering, does she retain these skills once she de-transforms? And it's sort of confirmed in this episode that she does not, because she says, Mako, you know how to drive a boat? And I feel like she says it in such a way of, I don't know how to drive a boat. And so I think the knowledge that she gets when she's transformed, I think she loses it when she de-transforms. But also, that was just an awesome line when she says, Mako, you know how to drive a boat? And Mako says, I can do anything. Like, yes, you can, Mako. Yes, you can.
We love Mako. Oh, she's just so cool in all of these episodes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this one, like, she's the one that's cooking the grilled fish, and she catches all on her own. At first, I thought she just, like, caught it from where did she get her fishing equipment? Did she just make it on her own from, like, the island, whatever the island had for her? Like, even if she did, Mako, please go out with me.
But that actually brings me to something else that I want to talk about. It's another theory that I sort of developed between this episode and the supermarket episode. So it is no big secret that a lot of people in the fandom don't like Chibiusa.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I just sort of figured it was because she was annoying. But I think the issue is she's so rude and mean, and she's never disciplined for it. I think that's the thing. She's never called on her BS, and I think that's why people dislike her so much. It also doesn't help that the person that she's usually directing all this stuff to is Usagi. And for the most part, when this happens, Usagi didn't do anything to deserve it.
Right.
I 100% agree that Usagi and Chibiusa will argue, and they're arguing the same thing, and they both stick out their tongues. Like, they are both very Usagi is really childish when it comes to stuff like that. But in the curry episode, when Usagi walks in, she's like, oh, okay, you need me to help, because that's what the parents were going for. They're like, Usagi, we need you to go to Chibiusa's school for this, because we can't. They're never given a reason why they can't. They just say they can't. In the Deke version, they do say there's a business dinner that came up. So thank you, Deke version, for putting that in there. However, I will also say any points that the Deke version gets for that is immediately disregarded, because that whole scene with Lita giving Usagi a crash course in curry and all the girls are there, that amazing scene, the Deke dub just cuts it all out. They use it for the Sailor Moon says at the end. Anyway, getting back on track. Usagi comes in and she's, oh, you need my help and my amazing curry skills, my amazing cooking skills. And Chibiusa just says, no, I don't want her to help. I would rather do this by myself. I'd rather nobody come than Usagi help me. And Usagi immediately claps back, but this is where a parent should have stepped in and said, Chibiusa, I'm sorry that we can't go, but that's no reason to take it out on Usagi. She's willing to do this for you, so you should be grateful. And I don't think she gets that sort of
admonishment.
She's not... yeah, exactly. Usagi's the only one that really calls her out on stuff, but because she does it in such a childish way, no one really takes her seriously. And Chibiusa doesn't take it seriously. So, And I think this beach episode is a perfect example of why it's so frustrating. Because she says, I don't like fish. And Ray comes back with something about being a picky eater isn't good.
Mm-hmm. Which isn't even that harsh, even. She says it,
Yeah.
Maybe being a picky eater isn't that great. Very kindly for Ray. Mm. It's Ray.
Yeah. It's not like she said, well, that's what you have, so you're going to eat it.
Yeah.
Like, Mako made this for you, so you're going to eat it and like it. Like, she didn't say that. But then Rini Chibiusa says, I hate fish, and throws it on the ground and stomps away. And,
like, how dare Mako caught that for you and made it for you.
It's so weird that, first off, I would think Mako would have maybe jumped in and said, okay, well, if you don't like that, then let's see if we can find you something else to eat. Mm-hmm. But when she throws that food on the ground, like, I'm surprised Ray doesn't get angry and say, just because you don't like it, there's no reason to waste food.
Yeah.
Because now nobody can eat that.
Yeah.
And, but as we see later on in the episode, they're both blaming themselves for her going missing. No, girls, this is why people hate Chibiusa. Because the girls, and everyone sort of just says, oh, well, she's acting this way because she's away from her parents. And she's in a new place, and she's just lonely. And I get that to a certain extent, but you still need to call people out on their behavior when it's stuff like this. And it's just, I don't know, it was, these two episodes back to back made me realize, I guess, maybe dig deeper into why people don't like Chibiusa. Mm-hmm. And they're not wrong. She's very annoying. I mean...
bratty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was just really annoyed that the girls were blaming themselves when she ran off. No, this is not on you. You did not have to think, oh, I should have made another dish, or, oh, maybe I was too harsh on her. One, Ray, you were not harsh on her at all. Two, Mako, you're fantastic, and I love you, and you do not need to make more dishes on top of what you already made and caught. If she didn't like it, then, yeah, she could have been, oh, I don't like it, maybe we can find something else to eat.
Yeah, because Ray must have brought food.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, there has to have been food in that house.
Or like a granola bar or something.
Yeah.
She didn't have to stomp on... yeah, just wasteful of food. I was annoyed. Also, the whole going into the sea by yourself and throwing a hissy fit. Just at least use some common sense and try not to float super far away. I mean, sure, you're a child, but I feel like even as a child, you kind of know, I don't know, it just struck me as odd that someone as smart as Chibiusa would do that.
Well, I'm also surprised that, especially Ami didn't say something, when they're at the beach in the beginning, Ami didn't say something like, make sure that we can see you at all times when you're in the water, as a little kid. When I was little and we'd go to the beach, my parents would stay on the beach and they'd let me go out, but they would always say, stay in line with me. If you see that you've somehow drifted, then come back. Like, when I look up, I want to be able to, like, directly see you straight in front of me. The underlying thread is, if you don't do that, then you can't go in the water.
Yeah.
And as a kid, that's all you want to do, go in the water. So I could sort of see her stomping off on the sand and them not consider that she was going to go into the water. But again, this is something, like, when she did that, I also wonder if, in her mind, she has been perfectly coddled and protected and has never been in any danger in her life because of who she is and where she's from. And it never occurred to her that this was a dangerous situation because she has her Luna P ball. And so I don't think it ever occurs to her that she's in real danger. And then she's not paying attention, and the tide pulls her out to the deep end where there are sharks.
Which Ray warned of in the very beginning. Like, there are sharks in the water. Don't go too far.
And also just small things that she does. And I guess you could sort of chalk this up to her being a kid, because she also teases Usagi a lot about, I'm going to get to hang out with Mamoru and you don't. Because she doesn't like Usagi, she wants to tease her about stuff like that, but doesn't realize how badly it hurts her. Which is another reason why I think people don't like Chibiusa.
Yeah.
But it was just interesting, because I've said it multiple times, but this rewatch has allowed me to look at the show in a different way. And Chibiusa was always a character that was like,
Yeah.
She's a little annoying, but whatever.
I did think she was fun. Spoiler alert, when she's Wicked Lady. Yeah. I think she's a lot of fun. But yeah, I really don't like her as this. I don't think I don't think I actually ever liked her. I liked her aesthetic because I like her pink, but she's not redeeming herself in my older Gilcy rewatch.
And I wonder if this also makes us question how good of a parent is Prince Endymion and Neo Queen Serenity. Because we get this, over the course of the season, we get this sense that she doesn't see a lot of her parents. She sees more of her dad than her mom. Her mom is very much on this pedestal. Oh, well, you need to be regal and elegant and pretty like your mom, and you're none of those things. And, how much parenting are they actually doing?
Right.
So I wonder if that's also contributing to it. And it's so crazy that their younger selves are bearing the brunt of their older selves being bad parents. I love when this sort of stuff, when you have characters and you see them as parents. Because I don't know if this is going to get me in hot water, but, it's pretty obvious. Aang is not a good dad.
Yeah.
He's not a good parent.
Yeah.
And it's so
disheartening.
You don't want to believe it at first. But then as the characters, and that's the great thing, one of the great things about Korra is, at least in regards to, the original group, you see Aang's kids really have these hard conversations about their parents. And I don't, except for Tenzin, I don't remember any of their names, but Kaya is the waterbender, I think. And so it's like, well, Kaya at least had mom. Yeah. But Aang is, so focused on Tenzin because he's the only airbender. Yeah. But that also puts so much pressure on Tenzin. And their other brother, who I can't remember what his name is. Boomy, yeah. Boomy. He wasn't a bender, and so he was sort of ignored. Yeah. Not ignored, but
kind of shafted.
Yeah. And it's fascinating, that sort of thing. And, I've never watched or read Naruto, and so I obviously have never watched or read Boruto. But it's sort of the same thing. You have this next generation, and seeing how they parent their kids.
And it's all it fits with their character too. I could see Aang being a good parent, but I could just as easily, because of Korra, see him why he would be a bad parent. And then with Usagi, it's kind of, I can see her being very nurturing, very kind with her kid, but then I can also see her neglecting her child because, she has so many duties and so many things that she has to get done. She's very one-track mind, especially when things are, happening right in front of her, and she kind of, if she's bemoaning, oh no, Mamaroo has ignored me, and then she kind of is in that mindset until someone's like, Usagi, you need to transform, stop thinking about this, and she's, oh right, yeah. So I can see her being a parent, being a detriment to raising a child.
Yeah, and I would like to think that Mamoru at least has enough self-awareness that it wouldn't be one of those, I don't know, maybe not necessarily codependent relationships. He and Usagi would not be so wrapped up in each other that they would sort of forget that they had a kid that they also needed to interact with. I think he would be self-aware enough for that not to happen. That being said, what's going on in the future that he doesn't take Usagi aside and say, hey, when was the last time you spent more than 10 minutes with our daughter? You know, when was the last time you tucked her in? When was the last time you had a meal together? Again, it's one of those things that we don't know anything about how Crystal Tokyo operates or what everyone is like in the future. And it's also so hard to imagine. How does Usagi go from Usagi in the series, as we see her, to Neo Queen Serenity?
Right.
Someone who is, I'm pretty sure she rules the planet at that point. I don't think it's just Tokyo. I think it's the entire planet. So how does someone go from getting 30s on their tests to ruling the planet? I mean, obviously, intelligence is not a requirement for public office, or else everything would look so different. I could see Usagi being so worried about doing a good job that that's what she focuses on, like you were saying. Mm-hmm. She says, okay, I need to make sure that I don't make any bad decisions. So she's always in meetings and getting advice from Ami, from advisors, from Endymion, and she's so focused on not screwing up that she screws up in another realm.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, and it fits her character, too. It's not out of character for her to neglect her own child. Which I thought was, like, a really good point that you brought up with Korra and Aang and Tenzin. It's a good parallel.
But that's also, why would Katara is very observant. Why would she not see what was happening and try to, like, talk to Aang and say, this is what I'm seeing? And again, it's been so long since I've seen Korra. I've only seen it once, and it's been so long. I don't know if Bumi ever actually has, if he ever actually says anything about Katara really tried to make him feel like he wasn't left out. I don't know if he has a line like that. But it would be so weird to imagine Katara's, okay, I've got my waterbender and you've got your airbender, so we're good, fam. And, like, not care that all of this pressure is being put on Tenzin and Bumi is being left out in the cold. Yeah. But we said there could be plausible explanations for it. But yeah, I guess that's going to do it for this episode. Our next episode will cover episodes 68 through 71. And we definitely start off with a bang, because that is the 5-on-5 Spectre Sister Scout fight. Super looking forward to that episode.
You could say it's the start of something new.
Yeah. Be sure to check out our social media on Twitter and Instagram at MoonMomentPod. And don't forget to check out our website at moonmomentpodcast.com. There you'll find show notes and transcripts of every episode.
Yes, let us know what your Moon Moment musings are. We would love to hear from you. You might just get a shout out. If you'd like to support the podcast, please rate, review, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It helps Moon Moments stay afloat amidst the vast ocean of podcasts. I'm Gilcy.
And I'm Drucilla.
We'll see you, Moon. Bye!
Bye!